We've all been told what grief looks like. A funeral, a hospital room, a phone call that changes everything. We have rituals for that kind of loss. Flowers, black clothes, people who sit with you. But nobody holds a ceremony when you pack away your childhood bedroom. Nobody mourns the version of yourself who used to believe a stuffed animal could protect you from the dark. And yet, something does die in that moment. Toy Story 5 opens with that exact feeling, that quiet, unannounced ending. That moment where one chapter of your life closes and no one around you even notices. Pixar calls it a story about toys. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. I call it one of the most honest things a film has done in years. Here's what we tell ourselves. We say, it's just a toy. We say, I've moved on. We say, growing up is natural. It's healthy. It's supposed to happen. And all of that is true. But here's what's also true. When you watched Andy leave for college in Toy Story 3, you didn't cry because of the toys. You cried because of you. You cried because somewhere, encoded in that scene, was a memory of a door closing on a version of yourself you were never quite ready to release. So what is actually happening inside us when that hits? Because it's not nostalgia. Nostalgia is warm. Nostalgia is comfortable. This is something sharper, something that doesn't have a name on a greeting card. Psychologists Paul Pearsall and Pauline Boss have studied something called ambiguous loss, grief without a clear ending. Grief for something that isn't dead exactly, just gone. A relationship that faded, a city you left, a version of yourself before something changed you. The brutal thing about ambiguous loss is this: it has no closure. There's no funeral, no defined before and after. The thing just stops being present, and you're left holding the shape of it. Object attachment theory adds another layer. As children, we do something extraordinary. We transfer ourselves into objects: a blanket, a teddy bear, a specific toy on a specific shelf. These objects don't just represent safety, they become an extension of our identity. So when the toy goes, part of the self we built around it goes too. This is why Toy Story 5 hurts in a way the trailers can't prepare you for. It's not showing you toys being abandoned. It's showing you being abandoned by time itself. There's a moment in Toy Story 5, and if you've seen it, you know exactly which one I mean, where a toy is held by a child for what might be the last time. The child doesn't know it's the last time. They never do. That's the cruelest design of childhood endings. They don't announce themselves. You don't wake up one morning and think, I am going to play with this for the last time today. It just happens. And years later, you reach back for it, and there's nothing there. The film understands something profound. The toy doesn't grieve the child's absence. We grieve our own. We grieve the child who needed that toy, the version of us who was small enough, soft enough, open enough to love something that couldn't love us back, and find that enough. Think about the last era of your life you closed a door on. Not a death, not a tragedy, just a shift. The last summer before something changed. The last time you called a place home before you moved. The last version of a friendship before it quietly became something different. Did you grieve that? Did you let yourself? Because most of us didn't. Most of us called it moving forward. We called it growth. We packed the boxes and didn't look back because looking back felt weak. But Pixar looked back, and what they found, what they always find, is that the things we loved before we learned to be ashamed of loving them, those things shaped us. The toy wasn't just a toy. It was the first thing you were ever loyal to, the first thing you ever protected, the first thing you ever mourned. And maybe that means the grief you felt, or the grief you didn't let yourself feel, was never small. Maybe it was practice. Practice for every human loss that came after. Toy Story 5 isn't a movie for children. It never was. It's a movie for every adult who has ever stood in the doorway of their childhood bedroom, half of them already in the future, and felt something pull at them from behind. What does that pull mean? It means you loved something, really loved it, with the kind of love that's uncomplicated and total, The kind adults spend their whole lives trying to get back. The toys weren't the point. You were always the point. The way you were once small enough to need them, brave enough to imagine through them, human enough to grieve them, even if no one told you that you could. Pixar didn't make a sequel. They made a mirror. And what's looking back at you isn't Woody or Buzz. It's you. At 7 years old, wondering if you'll remember them. So here's what I want to leave you with. There's a grief in you that probably doesn't have a name yet. Something you outgrew. Someone you slowly stopped being. Some version of your life that ended so quietly, nobody thought to hold a memorial. You're allowed to grieve that. Not because it was tragic, but because it was real. And the things that shaped you deserve to be acknowledged, even after the chapter closes. Especially then. Think about what your toy is. Not the plastic kind. The thing you've carried quietly. The era, the friendship, the version of yourself that you never properly said goodbye to. Maybe you don't need to let it go. Maybe you just need to let yourself miss it.